Who's a person from history that's a total badass? And Bonnie and Mary Red. They were pirates who disguised themselves as men and joined Calico Jack's crew. And Bonnie was in a relationship with Jack, so she got a free pass. Once she found out that Mary was pretending to be a girl they had a sister-like bond. Jack got jealous about their close relationship, so Mary had to reveal herself. They also pretty much carried Jack and his crew. For example, they struck D after stealing a ship and the entire crew got drunk, except Mary and Anne. It was all fun and games until the British Navy found them. Anne and Mary were the only ones who fought the Navy, but were outnumbered. When they did get caught, they used the fact that they were pregnant to postpone their hanging. Unfortunately, Mary died in prison of a fever, but Anne escaped prison and disappeared. The last words Anne said to Jack was, "Had you fought like a man, you need not have been hanged like a dog." I was gonna comment that. And Bonnie and Mary Red were awesome. Jack Churchill, British Army officer who was notorious for fighting in WW battles armed with a longbow, bagpipes, and his Scottish broadsword. Crazy to think he has confirmed kills with both weapons. And probably the damned bagpipes too, given how bad both was. Qingxi, the Chinese pirate queen. Street. Lawrence of Rome. He was burnt alive. His last words were "Atom est, versa et manduca," apostrophe, meaning, "This side's done. Turn me over and take a bite," apostrophe. That dude is at a King Legend laugh. Teddy Goddamn Roosevelt had debilitating asthma that nearly killed him as a young child. This fostered his love of nature and conservation. Became the Secretary of the Navy, but resigned the position to lead the Rough Riders in the Spanish-American War. Came back and became the police commissioner. Got elected governor of New York in 1898. Became William McKinley's running mate at the insistence of the New York State's party leadership. Became the president when McKinley was assassinated. Not to mention giving a speech with a bullet wound after an attempted assassination. He also had to be told he wasn't allowed to fight in WW1 because he was old and an ex-president. Cincinnatus. He was a Roman general and once he retired he became a farmer. When Rome was under attack, Caesar asked him to come back, and he refused 3 times before Julius came to his farm himself to ask him to lead the Spartans again. He accepted the 4th time and lead the Spartans to a victory and continued to lead them until he died in battle. Cincinnatus never lost a single battle. That guy who tricked Nazi Germany into thinking he was a great spy, but really he was just trolling the shit out of them. Harriet Mother Ducking Tubman, the queen of the Underground Railroad and the Moses for her people. Harriet Tubman was a slave who became a spy, scout, guerrilla soldier, nurse, and leader of the Underground Railroad, helping other slaves escape. She had a bounty on her head and once suffered a broken skull, and that skull fracture gave her migraines her entire life. So think about her and all she did next time you get a headache! Exclamation mark. She didn't let that stop her. Leroy Jenkins. At least he has chicken. Bieber Reeves. Genghis Khan. George S. Patton. Just read his biography. Achilles. That guy was a heel. Joan of Arc. That woman is the most bad woman I've ever heard of. In the beginning, the French royal needed her godly inspired visions to help them in their victory against the evil other French Burgundians, after which the visions continued and therefore must be coming the devil. Peaceful times. She got to Geo. Whoa, get that crazy woman out here. She's great for morale. Helen Keller. Lyudmila Pavlichenko, a Soviet sniper that took out something like 300 plus Nazis. Many of them snipers as well. She's the woman with the highest confirmed kill count. Edit. Oh, and she just started shooting for fun. When she signed up to fight, they were ready to dismiss her before learning that she'd won pretty much all the shooting contests around. She had a massive bounty on her head too. The Nazis and Western intelligence agencies thought that her death would dash the morale of the Red Army and kneecap the rise of communism in the East, but they never got her. She died peacefully after the war, I think. Amelia Earhart. Abraham Lincoln. Napoleon. In no real order. Patton. Admiral Ernest King. Alan Shepard, the astronaut. King Edward Longshanks. Francis Pego Magapo, Canadian war hero. WW1. Under fire, a ghost that roams the battlefield. Literally any pregnant woman before modern medicine. From what I heard, natural birth is horrible. Mary Curie. Leo Major. Dude captured an entire German occupied town 100% on his own in order to prevent civilian deaths from a light artillery fire. Simple History made an incredible video on him. Michael Jordan. I don't want him to read this question, not see his name, and then take it personally. My mom. Oswald Bulk. He was the pilot who basically trained the German pilots in World War I for a while. Created their air force. When you look at when he was flying, and what he trained other to fly, and how well they flew. Wow. Man had 40 confirmed kills himself. Thank you for actually providing the details. No problem. He trained Red Baron and the rest of the German pilots. If you look him up. Wow. What a pilot. What a fierce dude, lol. Vlad Dracula. Ned Kelly for sure. Dude made an iron armor and had an awesome last stand against multiple police officers. Also B. Yates. He fought for Athens, Sparta, Persia, Athens again. But even in a society that had such a raging erection for loyalty, he kept getting away with it because he was such a brilliant strategist. He always managed to rub a high-ranking politician the wrong way wherever he went. Probably because he kept ducking the sons and daughters, and may or may not have profaned some religious statues. So he almost always arrived back from war into someone's schemings. Twice he noped out of an ally commander's stupid idea, only to receive all the blame for it. So he'd defect and fight for their enemies until they took him back. And it kept working. Because he was just that good. Who IP Newton and Bobby Sale. I'd say that Charles Lightoller is a bit of a badass, and that's even without counting the circumstances of him surviving the Titanic disaster. He was shipwrecked at least once prior, and was the mastermind of the Fort Denison incident, showing what TV tropes calls Brit Budballs. The story goes that, during the Second Boer War, the then 4th Officer Lightoller of the SS Medic and some of his shipmates had found it amusing that the local Australian loyalists seemed to be taking the war in South Africa more seriously than the British themselves. So they snuck into the top of Fort Denison and hoisted a makeshift Boer flag and fired a cannon with a fuse long enough that would enable their escape. Not many people were amused, but Lightoller felt a little bad about it and handed in his resignation to his commanding officer, who promptly laughed it off, tore up Lightoller's resignation sheets, and had him reassigned to the transatlantic route. Many years after his retirement, Charles and his wife Sylvia, who he had met in Australia while serving on the SS Suvik for an unrelated punishment, were sent on their yacht, the Sundowner, to survey the German coast by the British government in preparation for the coming war. While the two were caught by a German naval ship, Lightoller was able to put on a convincing image of a drunken sailor that caused the Germans to leave in disgust. During the Dunkirk evacuation, Lightoller volunteered himself and, if my memory serves me correctly, his son, to bring the Sundowner to help evacuate the soldiers at Dunkirk. Around, I believe 175 men were crowded in and on the decks of the small yacht, though one man initially refused to board upon finding out about Lightoller's history, believing it bad luck. His companion said something along the lines of, on the contrary, if he can survive the Titanic, he can certainly survive this. At that point the reluctant soldier stepped aboard. In fact, the character Mr. Dawson, geez, I wonder who he's named after. In the Christopher Nolan film Dunkirk and the Moonstone are based on Lightoller and the Sundowner, the latter of which still survives today as a museum ship. Good answer. Funny, when I saw Dunkirk I actually wondered if Dawson was supposed to be Lightoller at first, either literally or figuratively. I knew Lightoller's story and sorta wondered. Similarities were obvious. The Trung sisters, who led a rebellion against China in the fight to free Vietnam from China's colonialism. Charles the Hammer Martel, leader of the Frankish army, and was the only one to stop the powerful Muslim invasion of Europe in 732 AD at the Battle of Tours. His choice of weapon was a giant battle axe. To top it all off, his nickname is the Hammer. Gary Gordon and Randy Stewart, True heroes of recent history. Galileo Galilei. The man was tried for heresy because he stated the fact that the earth was not the center of the universe. I would say Claudette Colvin. She was before Rosa Parks. Yes, just read about her. It's not uncommon for the second person to get the glory in most changed situations, but she deserves to have her name known. 2. 15-year-old badass. Yeah, I first heard about her as Drunk History. Really good movie/TV. I don't know which it was, as also really funny. Nirja Bennett. She was a flight attendant who died trying to get children off a plane during a hijacking. She also hid American passports so that the hijackers couldn't target the American citizens aboard. There's even a movie about her, and it makes me cry every time I watch it. Yep, she's a badass. I really wish I could remember her name, but this woman from Denmark became Empress/Queen and took over almost all of Scandinavia. Margaret I. Iraq Indian who had his hands cut off, so he stuck his stumps into knives, cause still had fighting to do. Shaka the Zulu. His army was the only one in the world to ever defeat the British Redcoats. He also taught his army how to infiltrate enemy forces and take over from within. Stagecoach Mary. Stanislav Petrov and Vasily Arkhipov prevented World War I-II. William of Normandy. He was friends with King Edward of England, and when he died he was supposedly promised the throne. Harold Godwinson claimed the throne for himself and killed Harold Hardrada, who also wanted the throne. William's men trolled the ever-living shit out of Godwinson's men at Hastings and killed Godwinson and took the throne for himself. He then went on a campaign of burning villages to force the people into submission, and William the Conqueror became the King of England. Sarah Emma Edmonds, because she was a spy for the Union in the American Civil War. She was a master of disuse. Can't spell, I tried. So many ways, hopefully you all know what I mean. She went undercover as a black man. The process won. This is just amazing. A nurse, a cook, and a house servant to the Confederate President Jefferson Davis. She freed a lot of Union soldiers who were captured and stole a lot of weapons and supplies from the Confederate soldiers. Like, this woman is just per bad, but just by pretending to be someone else. Marcel Marceau, not only for being a mime, but for fighting in the French resistance and saving people from concentration camps. Attila the Hun. Boudica, when her husband was killed and her daughters raped and disinherited by the Romans, she led a Celtic grudge against them. Yep, she's a badass. Che Guevara. Eva Moses Core. I just read her wiki story. Yes, a total badass. Marvin Himia. Yi Sunsin. Sargon of Akkad. Brothers Reginald and Ronald Gray. Toussaint Louverture, Haitian general that used mosquitoes to win the Haitian Revolution. Alexander Matrosov. Guy covered the embrasure of Nazis' machine gun bunker with his own chest so his buddies could go on and storm the place. Skanderbeg, the hero of Albania. Stalin, I guess. My grandma made a decision to leave her homeland and come to the US when her kind weren't wanted. Had to start at the bottom of the pecking order, became a maid, then went on to raise 3 doctors, 1 soldier and a classically trained violinist. Narendra Modi. Sanada Ukimura. Beba Reeves, runaway slave that lived with Native Americans before becoming the first black U.S. Marshal west of the Mississippi River. He arrested everybody and anybody, including his son, averaging 90 arrests a year, and he never learned to read, standing about 6 feet tall. Beba would hunt down and arrest sometimes 3 men at once. Pauline Bonaparte. Most of my heroes have been mentioned with the exception of Sophie Scarl. Alexander the Great. What are you doing with your life at age 30? Lying around at your house eating Cheetos and browsing Reddit. He was conquering the known world, baby, while also being probably the most bad but bisexual dude of all time. My boy who killed Hitler. My man, the historic German guy. He got a war named because of him. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.